Hi everyone, welcome. Awaken My Soul Yoga with me, Sharon. So outside once again, actually I did a practice a little bit earlier this morning, so it's still just a beautiful day and wanted to invite you all to see the beautiful space that I am so blessed to be in, to live in. It's the high country of North Carolina, Banner Elk. Today I am at the Banner Elk Winery and taking advantage of nobody being here and having this beautiful space and just doing a nice gentle seated practice. So everything on this practice is going to be seated and or on our backs. We might get on our hands and our knees also, but most of it will be on our seats and on our backs. So you can choose your space that would make you feel most comfortable in that, and we'll get started. So turn that volume up, and here we go. So we're going to start in our child's pose. So everyone, let's come towards the back of our mat. And I always like my first child's pose to be with a wide knee. So I go wide knee child's pose, but you don't have to. You can go with the knees together, or you can go just a little bit further apart, whatever works for you. But I like it, especially just to start, just kind of really warms up the knees and warms up my hips. And then draw those toes together to touch behind you and sink your hips back towards your heels. Maybe they touch your heels, maybe they don't. So this is a real nice base to get started. And then I'm going to start to walk my hands forward down the center of my mat, flattening my palms and separating my hands about hip width apart. So I draw my forehead towards the mat, the third eye, our intuition, our knowledge. Oh, we really need to count on that right now these days, right? We're in our child's pose. And start to listen to your breath. Allow the belly to sink in, either all the way to your thighs or down in between your thighs, and just let it melt down the center. Bringing in one more breath here, focusing on maybe tapping into that ujjayi breath where we inhale through our nose and exhale through our nose. As I like to start all of my practices with 3 sigh breaths. So go ahead and inhale super deep and just allow that belly to expand and the chest to expand. And then on the exhale, open your mouth and let it go. Next round of breath. Inhale deep, let the belly expand, push it way out in the chest, and maybe your shoulders go up slightly. Open your mouth, exhale, let it go. Third and final round. Inhale deep. And exhale, let it go. Come back to that ujjayi breath, that restricted breath. Trying to draw that breath in and out in a wave-like synchronized way. Sometimes even counting those inhales, the length of them, and trying to equalize them to the exhales. And one more breath. And then I want us to walk our hands off to the left side of your mat. So walk your hands way off to the left side of your mat. Press that left palm into the mat, and I'm going to thread that right arm underneath the left. So it's a child's pose with a twist. So I threaded that right arm underneath. Keep walking those fingertips out. And then I drop the chest down over this right shoulder. Twisting the spine. And drop your head down. One more breath. Beautiful. Come back up. Press that left palm into the mat or into the floor, into the grass next to you. Walk the hands back to center. And then let's walk off to the right side. So right hand presses in, and I'm going to thread that left arm underneath the right. So I'm threading the left arm. Excuse my belly as I twist. Drop the chest down, drop the head down over this left shoulder. Feel that nice twisting motion in your child's pose. One last breath here. Press that right palm into the mat to release the left arm. Bring both hands back to center. And then I'm going to lift my hips and unattach my toes behind me. I'm bringing my knees now directly underneath my hips. And I'm going into a puppy dog pose, just like a downward dog. So look at my hips. They're stacked above my knees. And then I'm going to outstretch my arms forward and then drop my chest down and my head down towards the mat, puppy dog pose. Engaging the shoulders and breathing into the belly and a nice long spine. Puppy dogs, wag your tails. Just wagging the hips side to side. Should feel good. Nice. Bring those forearms all the way to the mat. So the elbows are pressing into the mat. And I'm going to bring the prayer hands overhead here. And then I'm going to draw those fingertips up towards the sky. My forehead is resting on the mat. Feeling this stretch into my shoulders. Prayer hands are facing up. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can actually bring the thumbs to the top of your spine and press those thumbs into the top of your spine. You'll feel a little deeper stretch there into the triceps. Breathe into that belly. And breathe out. Nice, everyone. Go ahead and straighten those elbows. Flatten your palms. And then we're going to shift our weight forward. So get your belly all the way to the mat. Adjusting here, I've got my legs outstretched behind me, about hip width apart. And then my elbows are underneath my shoulders and my forearms are pressing in the mat. My fingers are spread wide, my shoulders are rolled back. Sphinx pose. My gaze is slightly forward, not cranking the neck up, and I'm not dropping it down. I've just got nice engagement right there in that cervical spine. So it's a back bend, Sphinx pose. Feel the extension of your spine. You'll feel it especially in that lumbar portion. So if that's too much on your low back, you can always walk the hands a little bit forward so the elbows don't come directly underneath your shoulders. So hopefully you know, and I know I've said it many times, this is your practice. So you make modifications and adjustments depending upon your body and your practice. I try to give you all the different modifications, but if I don't, I apologize. Make the modifications yourselves. If it doesn't feel good, if it's pain or pinching, back off. Change it. You want to feel something, a sensation, a stretch, maybe a little discomfort, but that's it. Never any pain or pinching. So we're here in our Sphinx pose. Stay there if you like. I'm going to go to a seal pose. I'm going to spin my palms out towards the edges of my mat, and I'm going to straighten my elbows. So now I'm pressing that pelvic bone into the mat, and my legs are still hip width apart, and my gaze is slightly forward. Keep those shoulders down, and if this is too much, just stay in that Sphinx pose. I'm going to go for a full Monty here. Bend my knees and bring my feet flat up towards the ceiling or towards the sky. Ooh, hamstring. Got a little cramp there. Breathe into this extension of the spine Oh, one more breath. And then bring it all down. Oh, goodness. Bring those legs together and bend the knees, push it back. We're going to an egg pose. So it's just like a child's pose. Sink the hips back. Draw the forehead towards the mat or the floor ahead of you, and then bring your arms down either side, maybe cupping the palms over the bottom of your feet. Egg pose. Counter pose for what we just did for that spine. Flexing it forward. So as we do this seated yoga, we're going to be focusing a lot on the spine. So you see we just did several things and bending that spine sideways, and we just extended it and we're flexing it. We're going to twist it. So I think just opening up that channel up and down the spine, getting into that nervous system, and coming out of our egg pose, bring it back to your tabletop position. So our hands are underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips. Now let's articulate that spine. So just imagine each vertebrae as each one moves along the vertebrae above and below it in our cat-cows. So inhale, lift your chest up, sag your belly, tuck your toes. Exhale, curl your spine. Push your belly button towards the ceiling, towards the sky. Press the palms into the mat. Press your shins into the mat. On your next inhale, lift up, cow. Exhale, curl it down, cat. 2 more times. Inhale, lift up. Imagine each vertebrae moving along the one that's above and below it. Exhale, cat. One last time. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, curl it down. All right, another twist here. So it's a tabletop twist. We're going to place that left hand underneath our chest for stability. Reach the right fingertips up high. So we're twisting over here towards the right, stacking those shoulders. And then we're going to thread that right hand underneath the left here, kind of like we just did in that child's pose, but now our hips are up. When you walk that right hand out and can't walk it out any further, then go ahead and drop the chest and the chin down over the right shoulder, twisting our table, and breathe. Press that left palm into the mat and release the right hand up high. Let it fly. Bring it down. Let's go to the opposite side. Right hand comes to center. Left fingertips fly. Lift the left fingertips up. Look up. Twist that table. And then thread that needle. So thread the left arm underneath the right. Walk those fingertips out as far as you can. Then you can't walk them anymore. I'm going to drop my chest over this left shoulder. Feeling that nice twist in my spine. Watch those hips, because sometimes they'll want to shift. Bring the hips back over the knees. Feel that full spinal twist there. Nice. Let's get out of here. Press that right palm into the mat. Release the left fingertips up high. Twist your table, and then bring it down 4 on the floor. We're going to come on to one hip and sit comfortably. So here we are, back to our seated. We started in our child, so we did a few things on our belly, on our hands and our knees. Now we'll do some seated positions. Again, really working into the side body and the spine. So I'm going to sit with my knees crossed, but you can always sit comfortably, can be just with your legs outstretched. What a beautiful day. It's a beautiful world. We just have to open our eyes and see it. Reset as we changed our position here. All right. I'm ready to move on. Here we go. Everyone, inhale the arms up, reach up, look up. Imagine that sun right in between your hands, just holding that fireball or a beach ball, whatever it might be. You're going to bring that right hand down by your side, and then you're going to reach the left fingertips overhead. So that right hand is going to walk all the way out as far as you can without lifting this left hip. So we're trying not to lift the hip. And maybe you come down all the way onto that forearm, maybe not. I can kind of stretch out, maybe not quite to the forearm. And then I'm reaching the left fingertips overhead, but I'm opening up those shoulders. Breathe in. And breathe out. Nice. On your next inhale, bring it back to your center. And then on your exhale, let's go to the opposite side. So the left hand reaches out, right fingertips go overhead towards the left side. Keep walking that hand out. How far can you go without lifting this right hip? Oh, there's the sunshine. I do have sunscreen on, but I might get a little sunburn today. Opening up those shoulders so we're not leaning forward, opening up. Breathe that in, nice. And then walk that hand back, bring it back to the center, and then bring the arms down by your side. Here's do another spinal twist. So I'm going to take that left hand on that outer right knee, and I'm going to bring the right hand behind me like a little kickstand. So I press my hand into the grass behind me, and then I'm pressing the back of this hand into the thigh. So roll the shoulders back, twist to your right, see if you can look to that right shoulder. See if you can look behind you. We do this in our chair yoga too. We do it seated. We do it all different ways. Such a nice spinal twist. Breathe it in. And then breathe it out. Bring it back to center. And let's go to the opposite side. So my left hand becomes my little kickstand back here. I'm pressing into the grass. And the back of this right palm is pressing into the outer left thigh. So I'm using those counter push and pull, and I'm rolling the shoulders back, looking back. Ooh, did you hear that pop? That was my cervical spine. Engaging that core and breathing deep. Spinning that chin towards that left shoulder. See if you can peek back there. Nice. Bring it back to center. We're going to keep that right knee bent, and I'm going to extend the left leg out. So we're in a half butterfly here. Beautiful. So I've got my half butterfly. Left bottom of the foot is square, or it's coming into the inner thigh. So you don't have to be outstretched so much if that's too much for you. So I like it coming in just a little bit. And then I'm going to square my shoulders over this left leg. And I'm going to try to come to the outside of this left leg. So I'm taking my right hand and I'm bringing it to the outer edge of the shin here. So you see that? I'm bringing the palm and I'm twisting. And this left hand can just kind of hang. I'm going to tuck it over in this right hip. If you can't reach into that right hip, grab your shirt, grab your jacket, grab your pants, whatever it be. But I'm grabbing this left ankle and opening up this right hip. And I'm using that bind to pull me a little deeper. Getting those shoulders away from your ears, so don't get them all crunched up. Shoulders away from your ears. Feel that really nice stretch in that right hip. Oh, maybe send some deep breaths there. Breathe deep. One more breath. Fabulous. Go ahead and release that bind. Now I'm going to just square my shoulders over this left leg. And I'm just going to walk the hands down either side. So no binding here. Just kind of shifted my stretch a little bit. So it's a little more equalized in the low back. Just a couple breaths here. Really trying to focus on keeping that right knee down towards the mat. Rotating that right hip up. Open. One more breath. Then start to walk your hands back. And we're going to counter pose here. So that right knee is bent and that right foot is in the inner thigh. Take the right hand back behind this right hip. Engage this left foot, and you're going to press this right shin into the mat, and then you're going to lift your hips up. Oh yeah, wild thing. That should feel good. Open it up and breathe. Bring it back down. Let's go to the opposite side. So that right leg is going to be stretched out, and that left foot is coming into my inner thigh. One side's going to be different than the other. So I'm trying to keep that knee as engaged and as lowering towards the mat as I can. Left hand is going to grab something on the outside. So maybe it's just your shin or your knee. I'm going to go all the way towards my ankle if I can. This right hand can just flop back behind you. I'm going to try to tuck it in, getting in a really nice twist here. Grabbing my hip point or my pants or my t-shirt. And I'm dropping my chin down into my chest. I had to look up. I heard voices over there. I'm kind of in this, like I said, a quiet spot. The Banner Elk Winery. It is closed at the moment. I think they are open for pickups, but I don't believe today. So I heard voices, so I wasn't sure who that was. Somebody off taking pictures similar to what I'm doing. So breathe in. Use that spine to pull you deeper. And breathe out. Let it go. Release that bind, everyone. Now square your shoulders over this right leg. And we're just going to fold forward. No binding here. Shifting that rotation in that left hip. Shifting it more towards the whole lumbar portion of our spine. Walking my hands down that right leg. Left knee continues to try to make it down towards the floor, towards the mat. Drop your chin towards your chest. And breathe. One more breath. Fabulous. Walk those hands back towards your hips. Now we did that wild thing. So remember that left knee is bent and the foot is on the inner thigh. I'm going to put this left hand behind the left hip. Plant it. Plant this right foot down. Press into. Ooh, we got a nice wind gust. Feels good though. Press this left shin into your mat. Lift the hips up. Wild thing. Open it up. Oh yeah. Bring it back down. Extend the legs. I'm going to bring them all the way down to the top of my mat. I'm going to turn sideways for you here. I could be on the grass, but legs are outstretched. Pull the little glutes out so our sits bones are nice and firm. We're going to go into a forward fold here, just like we do when we were standing, and we're going to go for a bind. So you're going to pick something. Either it's going to be your toes or the top of your feet, or maybe just the ankles or the shins. And we're going to try to go with as straight a spine as we can. And we're hinging here at the waist. So as opposed to rolling forward like our yin, where we just kind of roll forward, we're trying to hinge and almost jackknife, like you're hinging forward. So a nice way to start this one to keep us with that straighter spine is lifting your arms up overhead. So just imagine that nice straight spine from the tailbone all the way to the crown of your head. And then start to hinge at your waist. And reach for wherever bind that you were going for. So I'm going for the top of my feet. Again, you can just grab there, maybe just behind your knees or your ankles, maybe it's your big toes. And the knees can be slightly bent if you need them to be. They can be a little straighter if you'd like. And I want you to look at your shoulders. Are your shoulders up here by your ears? Lower those shoulders back down. Yeah, nice job. A nice gaze is in between the feet, just ahead of the feet. That's a really nice gaze. So gazing in that direction kind of keeps that upper back. We're always going to have some kind of a natural curve in our spine. But the straighter spine for these binding folds. So we're really getting that stretch into the muscles, the hips, and the hamstrings. That's where you're going to feel it. Watch those shoulders. Don't let them creep up. And breathe into that belly. So these folds don't necessarily just tap into the stretch in the backside body, but they massage those internal organs. So as you're folded forward, we're scrunching into the belly and the pancreas and the kidneys and the stomach and all of those organs inside, giving them a little lovely massage and breathing. One more breath here. Fabulous. We've been flexing these hips forward for a couple poses, so release your binds, roll yourselves up. Let's come to a nice counter pose. It's going to be our bridge pose. So we're going to bring ourselves all the way back down to the mat, flat back, bend your knees. Walk your feet back towards your hips. Hands are down by your sides. Press your palms into your mat or your floor. Now lift those hips up. Back bend, another one. Bridge pose. Watch those knees, that they don't just fly out. We still want to engage the inner thigh and those quads. So keep the knees above the ankles. And you can keep the palms flat, pressing into the mat and pushing the hips up. Or you can go for a full bridge, where you will clasp those hands underneath you and start to scooch the shoulders underneath you. So now I'm pressing the back of my arm, back of my palm, edge of my palm, into the mat. Push the hips up. No matter where your hands are, we're all pushing those hips up. Engage those glutes. Nice counter pose. One more breath here. Go ahead and release it down. Release the hands if you have them clasped. Release the hips. Bring the knees in towards your chest. Let's come to a happy baby. So I'm going to grab for the outer edges of my feet. You can grab the inner edges, the arch of your feet. If you can't reach your feet, just grab the back of your knees. The whole goal is to get the knees out to the side bodies, out by your armpits. Happy baby. Rock it side to side. Feel good, especially after that bridge pose, that back bend. Beautiful. Release your feet. Come on down the center of your mat. So we're going to do this little crescent shape down the center of our mat on our spine. It's bending our spine sideways, so bending it to the side. So if you've done yin with me and you've done this practice with me in class, I don't think I've done it on video yet. In yin, it's called bananasana. So you kind of look like a banana shape. But we're not going to hold it as long as we do for yin. I just was trying to work into all these spinal moves. So keep the hips centered in your mat and start to walk your heels off towards the right edge of your mat. So walk them as far as you can. Those hips are still center. And then cross that left ankle over the right, just to lock the legs in. So you kind of feel that bottom half. See how the spine is kind of curving over to the right there in the lumbar. Now we're going to try to get the upper body in that same direction. So press the elbows into your mat and start to scoot your shoulders in that same direction off to the right. So you can imagine, if you need to look at me or just imagine, you're in this crescent shape, banana shape in our yin pose. So you are bending that spine off to the right. And to go full and even a little deeper, you can bring the arms up overhead and grab opposite elbows. Just opening up this whole left side body and pressing and compressing on this right side body. We'll be here for 3 breaths. So imagine the breath. Inhale deep, running down that whole right side. And exhale, letting go. Second breath, inhale. And exhale. Last one. Unhook the arms if you have them overhead. bring the shoulders back center, uncross the ankles, bring it to the center for just one moment, stretch it out like that morning stretch, and then bring it over to the opposite side. So the ankles and the heels walk over to the left side of my mat, but my hips are staying center. And then I cross that right ankle over the left, keep that bottom half engaged, and then I start to scooch my shoulders, pressing my elbows into the mat, scooch my shoulders to the left, and I'm going to bring my arms up overhead. I grab opposite elbows, feel that opening down that right side body, compressing the left side body. Really good, these poses for your lymph nodes too. So we know thousands of them run down the side body, through the armpits, through the hips. They don't have a pumping system. So they really just work on movement, pressure and movement. So when you do these twisting poses and these beautiful poses here, opening up the side body, you're just kind of helping them get rid of those toxins. That's what those lymph nodes do. One more breath here. I don't know if you heard that bee go by, huh? Release your arms down by your side. Start to scooch everything back to the center. Uncross those ankles. Another nice long stretch. Arms up overhead, feet down below. Point those toes, stretch it out. Arms down by your side. I want to do one more little series, pigeon pose on our back. So bend those knees, walk the feet back. We're going to take that right ankle and we're going to cross it over that left knee. So maybe that's as far as you go. Press into the inner right thigh and you've got this figure four shape. So again, that might be as far as you go. You want to go a little bit deeper? See this opening down the center? Thread that right hand in between your legs and the left hand on the outer side. And you're going to clasp the hands behind the thigh or the shin. Now we probably lifted our shoulders to get there. If you did, go ahead and lower the shoulders back and then you gently start to pull that left knee in. And it's another good rotation in that right hip. So I think I'll call this practice spine and hips. We did a lot of spinal work, but then we did a lot of hip. And yeah, they're so interconnected. Two things that connect the upper body to the lower body and just keep us stable and healthy. A nice pigeon pose here. One more breath. And then exhale, go ahead and release. Uncross. And let's do the opposite side. So the left foot comes up and then your left ankle crosses over that right knee. Maybe you stay right there. Maybe that's plenty for you, just a gentle press into this inner thigh and this left side. Or maybe you go a little bit deeper. You thread the hand. So thread this left hand between your legs. Right hand comes around the outside and you can clasp behind the thigh or in front of the shin or in front of the knee. Then roll the shoulders back and draw that right knee in towards your chest, your belly. Engaging and externally rotating this left hip. One more breath here. Beautiful. Everyone release, uncross, walk the heels and the feet out towards the edges of your mat. Counter pose here. Just drop the knees down the center. Like a little teepee. So the knees are coming in, teepeeing with each other, internally rotating those hips. Just a nice little counter pose. How we feeling, everybody? A little bit better than when we got started? Hope so. Our final pose is our Shavasana, which is traditionally done on our back, where you will outstretch your legs and your arms down by your side. I'm going to come to seated Shavasana, so you can do either. But I encourage you to close your eyes whichever place you go. So if you're on your back, arms are down by your sides, legs are relaxed, toes are just pressing outward. Not pressing, just flopping. No more engagement. Imagine that breath as you now have slowed it down. We've stopped our movement. And just follow that breath. As you inhale, follow the breath all the way down that left side, left hip, all the way down to the left toes. And then the breath comes back out, up the left hip, and exhale, letting all of that go. On your next inhale, inhale that breath, follow the flow all the way down the right side, right hip, right knee, to your right toes. And then on your exhale, bring that breath all the way back up that right leg, through the hip. Exhale, let it go. Back to our left side, upper body, inhaling that breath through the chest, down the left arm to the fingertips. And then exhale, letting that breath go from the fingertips, left elbow, left shoulder, through the belly, through the chest. Exhale. Inhale, down that right side, right shoulder, right arm, fingertips. And then exhale, send the breath from the fingertips through that right arm, through the shoulder, the chest, and out. Final round of breath here in our Shavasana, inhaling through the crown of the head, allowing that breath coming in through the front of the face, through the throat, into the chest, and into the belly. And then exhale, let that breath just float away from the belly, through the chest, through the front of the face, out the crown of the head. Thank you everyone for joining me in this beautiful space and this beautiful new venture for me. You are my inspiration, keeping me active and sane and engaged, and hopefully keeping you